Hello all, welcome back to my channel. I'm kind of hoping that I'm in focus because I have an issue with focusing. Don't we all? So if you're new here, my name is Sam. I write under the pen name of Frances June and I write young adult and fantasy fiction novels, of which you can find my books on Amazon, which I will put the links in the description, and I will also link to the playlist up here, which is me talking about the books that I have out at the moment. So today I wanted to talk about the books that got me out of the dreaded reading slump, which I went through in the summer, and it sucked so bad. Like, I just couldn't read anything. And I'm currently going through a little bit of a reading slump right now, but I'm going to force myself through because my TBR pile is just ever growing and every single book on it is something that I can't wait to read. So if you are in the same position that I was and kind of am at the moment, I have got 4 books, because why do 5 when you can do 4? 4 books that are going to help you get out of a reading slump if you need some recommendations. Let's get started. For those of you who love adventures and Studio Ghibli and all of those kind of magical, wonderful things, Howl's Moving Castle is probably one of the best books that I have read in a long time, and it's been on my TBR list for years and years, and I never ever bought it, mostly because I'm always kind of on the lookout for books in bookshops. I don't really like to shop for books online unless it's from like indie bookstores. And I also kind of like books to come to me naturally, so even if I have TBR lists, I won't actively go out and look for those books. I will wait for them to come to me. I don't know why. I mean, this is like the best recommendation I can give you if you're somebody who buys too many books, is to just let them come to you. But we're not talking about that today. So this I actually spotted in my local Waterstones, and I had been on the lookout for it in second-hand bookshops or charity shops and hadn't seen it. I mean, I haven't seen it for years, and it's literally been on my radar for so long. I mean, this was released, this was originally published 1986, and it's been on my wish list for, I've got to say, like, when did the movie come out? I don't know, but it's been on my list for probably like 10 years, and it finally saw it just there in the bookshop, facing outwards, not even spine in, it was just cover out. And I've seen this cover around like so much that on the internet that I knew exactly what it was when I saw it, and I snapped it up, and I just love it so much. I can't really recommend it enough. If you love the movie like I do, then this book is just so much better. It's different. I mean, I loved the movie because I loved the way that they did the story, but the story in this I just found to be so much more complex, which is obviously what happens when you read books and see the movies. But there was so much more to it, and I just love Howl as a character. He's so flawed and so petulant and just such an utter douchebag sometimes, but you also kind of just love him for it. And he's far more complex in the book than he is in the movie, and I love him in the movie. I know it's a cartoon, but we can swoon for cartoon characters, right? That's still okay? Don't tell me, because I'm still all over Raphael from the Turtles. So I would highly recommend picking this up if you want a quick read. It only took me a couple of days to read it. I tried to spread it out longer, but I couldn't because I just devoured it. Great quick read, and it's part of a series which I kind of knew about, but I kind of didn't know about. So I'm excited to get into the rest of this series as and when the books appear to me naturally, but I'm assuming that I'm going to have to track them down. Another book that was on my radar because I had read the first book last year. I found the author on Twitter, and she had tweeted that her book was coming out, and I pre-ordered it because it sounded so good. And then when the second one came out this year, I was just instantly at the bookshop grabbing it. Again, my local Waterstones, it's like right at the bottom of my road, which is a problem and why I don't go looking for books on purpose mostly. So this is Secret of the Stars, which is a Ship of Shadows adventure. So this is a middle grade book, but like I love middle grade books, and I love just children's adventure stories, and the first one of this was just so good that when I bought this second one, again, it's not a huge book, so I read it in a few days. So this is the story of a young girl who has joined a pirate ship that is completely crewed by women. The pirate ship is magical, and they are on the hunt for pieces of a magical map, which kind of show where all like the buried treasure is in the world. And they are up against a clock because there is also another pirate ship who are like their arch nemesis, and they are also looking for the pieces of the map. So it's all about trying to get there first and sneaking everywhere that they go, and it is honestly probably one of the best series that I have read. I know that I said this about the last book, but one of the best series that I have read in so long, that I know that the rest of the series is going to be amazing. And yeah, I just can't wait to read them, and I can't wait to reread these. And I keep kind of thinking about selling these books because I have a secondhand bookshop, but I can't bring myself to do it because I know that I'm going to reread this series more than once. So pick up the first book and then pick up this book. They won't take you long to read, and they are guaranteed to get anybody out of a reading slump. The third book that we have here is the Smoke Thieves, which I, in my previous videos, have said that I was reading. I got a sprayed edges one. This was actually a random find in my local bookshop because I wasn't particularly looking for a fantasy book. I was just kind of looking for quick reads, and I wasn't looking for like bigger reads because I've got loads of books like that. But I was drawn into getting this one because it's by Sally Green, who wrote the Half Bad book series, and that book series blew me away when I read that a few years ago. I got all 3 books out from my local library and was like literally like I could not get enough of them, and they were just brilliant. So I saw that she had started writing this new series, and I picked this up, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. There are multiple point of views, multiple protagonists, and that kind of took a little bit of getting used to because it's just like distracting, and I'm one of those people that once a chapter ends I tend to just like put the book down, and particularly when there are multiple characters, so every chapter is a new character, it means that for me reading this book was quite stop and start. But once I got into it, and once I understood who the characters were and how they kind of all interlinked, I couldn't put it down. I thought it was brilliant. I love the way that Sally Green writes really, really imaginative worlds and characters, and I don't think that you could really compare her like magical worlds to anybody else's, which is probably obviously the highest praise you can give someone, because a lot of times you read books and you think, oh, this is really similar to something else, but I can't say that this book is similar to anything else. I guess I should quickly tell you what this is about. So there is a magical kingdom, and we have a princess, a smoke thief, which you learn all about in the book, a servant, a knight, and a prince's son who doesn't know that he is the prince's son. And all of these people are thrown together because there is a terrible king who is basically trying to do really bad things. So all of the plot points obviously cross over, and yeah, I can't really give too much of it away. But if you're looking for a large world fantasy series, there are currently 2 books out of this, and it's really like a cool book to get into. I just love. There are some characters that are just so good. Definitely worth a read if you're looking to get into some magical fantasy. Lastly, I have got a what I would consider crossover young adult, just general fiction book, because I would class this as a young adult because the main protagonist is about like 18, 19 years old, and the story and the relationships I find are quite juvenile in a way, not in a bad way, but just in the fact that they are like highly emotional characters. So this is a book that is filled with stories about Greek gods and mythology and stuff, so if you are a huge mythology buff like I am, although you can't test me on anything because I don't remember stuff, but I love reading books based on mythological characters. And this is all about Greek gods who have been forced to join this kind of like eternal game where every 7 years for 7 days the Greek gods are mortal. And there are these families who are descendants of people like Hercules and Perseus, who basically have to hunt these gods down and try and kill them to absorb their powers, and then they become new gods. And so it's all like very time sensitive, you know, it's like through 1 week basically. And there is a girl who is out of the game. She decided she doesn't want to live in this game anymore, but she gets dragged back in, and it's all kind of about it's all about families and mysteries and lots of fighting and lots of Greek mythology. So it was so good, and I have actually seen mixed reviews on this. Like, I think a lot of people didn't like it and were just sorry, my bookmark keeps falling out. A lot of people were drawn to it because the front cover is so eye-catching, and I used to see this in the bookshop and online, and I was like drawn to the cover but wasn't in the lookout for a new book. And then when I saw it in the bookshop, I thought, well, I'll read the blurb, because I hadn't sometimes I avoid reading blurbs so that I don't buy books. I just don't have enough space to keep buying books. But I read the back and I couldn't not buy it. So I blasted through this in about, I mean, probably like a week or something, which for me is good because I work full time, and also obviously I'm writing as much as I can and just living life. So, but this one is definitely a go-to if you just want to get stuck into some good old-fashioned like pop lit is what I would call it. It's not like hugely difficult to read. I always sometimes find that if you read a book that's all about Greek mythology and stuff, sometimes the names can be really jarring, especially if you're someone like me who's dyslexic, and so things that you aren't used to reading, names of places and words, can make reading really difficult. But this actually wasn't too bad, so if you are a dyslexic or you just find it really difficult to read names that aren't the usual names, yeah, I didn't think this was too bad. And I really did love this book, and I will reread this at some point. So hopefully you found a book that you think you would like to read. Like I say, like the reading slump is real, and there's nothing worse than wanting to read but not really having books or the mindset to read. So the first 2 children's books, so easy to read. It's literally just like point A to point B, and that's really what I find gets me out of a reading slump personally, is just reading straight stories, not anything too complex. And the other 2 are a little bit more complex, but the stories in general move quite fast and the characters are great. So if you've ever been in a reading slump, or you're currently going through a reading slump, and you find a book that gets you out, please leave it in the comments, because I'm always happy to figure out how to get out of it. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video. Next week I will be talking about October and what I'm going to start calling PlanoWriMo, because I'm going to be starting to plan my NaNoWriMo novel in October, and I'm 99% sure I'm going to be doing that via a live stream, but it kind of depends whether people are interested, or maybe I'll just do it if people aren't interested, just for the fun of it. And then NaNoWriMo, I will be live streaming write-ins, just again for the fun of it. So join me for that. If you are somebody who always pantsers, is a pantser, let's just say that. So somebody who just makes up the story as they go, and you want to try something a little bit different, come with me. I am generally a pantser, but for the past couple of years I have been planning. Hence my planning videos last year, which I will link up here in the playlist. I really find that planning is very helpful, like very, very helpful, and I know it's a cliche, obviously planning is helpful, but I don't do it in great detail. So if you're on the fence, maybe watch the playlist, see how you feel about it, and then we'll do it together live in living colour. I'm going to go and edit this video and upload it, and then my day is filled with cleaning and sorting out all my book stock from my bookshop. And And writing. Oh Jesus, I haven't even done my writing yet. Okay. Have a good day, everyone. I will see you next week. And he's far more complex. Terrible. Yeah, never. I've completely lost track of what I was just saying. Excuse me. So if you've ever... Right, I'm gonna go blah blah blah. How many of these are gonna be at the end?